Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving deep into one of the most surprising and fascinating moves coming out of Ukraine's defense strategy in the ongoing war. Something that military experts are calling Ukraine's insane trick that has managed to turn Russia's own eyes against them. And when we talk about eyes in a modern battlefield, we are not talking about human eyes, but about surveillance drones, spy satellites, reconnaissance cameras, and electronic intelligence systems that are supposed to provide Moscow with real-time updates about troop movements, positions of artillery, air defense layouts, and every possible change on the ground. Yet what Ukraine has managed to do is to use a brilliant mix of camouflage, electronic deception, fake signals, and battlefield trickery that forces Russian systems to misinterpret what they are seeing, essentially tricking Russia into wasting bombs, shells, missiles, and manpower on targets that don't even exist while Ukraine preserves its strength for counterattacks and strategic pushes. Now when we break this down, it almost feels like reviewing a cutting-edge military product, so let's walk through it as if this insane trick was something we could evaluate in terms of its exterior, its interior, its performance, its safety features, its unique selling points, the cost of running such a strategy, and the ultimate conclusion about how game-changing it really is. Because what Ukraine has done is rewrite the rules of how modern asymmetric warfare can be fought against a much larger and heavily armed opponent. On the exterior side of this trick, we are looking at the visible, the surface-level design, the things that Russia thinks it sees when it deploys its reconnaissance equipment, and this is where Ukraine has mastered the art of deception by building dummy tanks, fake artillery positions, inflatable aircraft, wooden radar arrays, and even fake air defense launchers that from above look almost indistinguishable from the real thing. The exterior of these decoys is so well crafted that drone footage and even satellite imagery often confuse them with authentic military assets. So from the outside, Russia's eyes are drawn to what looks like a major Ukrainian buildup, but in reality these are hollow shells, cleverly painted, strategically positioned under camouflage nets, and reinforced with heat signatures to simulate engine warmth. The exterior therefore is all about illusion, making the enemy believe that what is being seen is valuable, critical, and worth attacking, but in fact it's nothing more than a trap designed to bleed Russian resources. Inside this trick, the interior is surprisingly simple yet extremely effective. Unlike high-tech weapons that require complex machinery, the interior of Ukraine's deception strategy is lightweight, inflatable structures, cheap wooden frameworks, and sometimes even old vehicles dressed up to look like modern hardware. This interior simplicity ensures that Ukraine can build, deploy, and replace these decoys very quickly, and at a fraction of the cost of real equipment. So while Russia might be using a multimillion-dollar missile to destroy what it thinks is an advanced Ukrainian launcher, interior reality is that it was just a fake costing a few $1,000s or less. So the short answer here is that the interior is deliberately low cost, flexible, and built for speed rather than durability. When we move to performance, this is where Ukraine's trick really shines because the results have been staggering. Reports suggest that dozens if not hundreds of Russian missiles, artillery rounds, and drone strikes have been wasted on these false targets, meaning that every hit on a decoy is a missile not destroying a real tank, every wasted artillery barrage is a shell not landing on an actual frontline unit, and every drone fooled by fake signals is intelligence lost to the Russian command. Performance here is measured not by how strong the trick is but by how much damage it prevents Ukraine from suffering, and in this regard the numbers are extraordinary. Ukraine has saved countless millions of dollars in preserved military assets, gained valuable time for its forces to reposition, and forced Russia into a war of attrition that drains its stockpiles far faster than expected. Because performance in modern war is not only about hitting hard, but about making your enemy miss hard, and Ukraine has turned that into an art form. Safety features might sound strange in the context of warfare, but they are absolutely crucial here because the whole point of this deception is to protect Ukrainian soldiers, cities, and critical infrastructure by diverting Russian fire away from populated areas or real positions toward empty fields filled with dummies. Ukraine is essentially building a shield made of illusions. One of the greatest safety features is that even if the trick fails and Russia realizes it has hit a decoy, the only loss is a cheap inflatable or wooden construct. No soldiers are lost, no families are torn apart, and no critical weapons are destroyed, so the safety layer here is both psychological and physical. Soldiers on the ground know that decoys are buying them precious hours and sometimes days of survival, and civilians know that missiles wasted on fake targets are missiles not falling on their homes. In that sense, the safety features of this strategy are among the most humane aspects of the entire conflict. The unique selling points of Ukraine's insane trick are what truly set it apart from standard military deception. First is cost-effectiveness. By spending a few $1,000s, Ukraine forces Russia to waste tens of millions in advanced weapons. Second is adaptability. These tricks can be deployed in forests, open fields, urban environments, and even on the water with fake naval targets. Third is psychological warfare. Because Russian troops and commanders begin to doubt the accuracy of their own surveillance, and once doubt creeps in, decisions slow down, mistakes increase, and confidence collapses. Fourth is global influence. Because Ukraine's allies see how resourceful and innovative the country is, it increases support and admiration from abroad, showing that a smaller nation can resist a giant with brains over brute force. These unique selling points mean that Ukraine has managed not only to survive, but also to inspire others in terms of military innovation. When it comes to price, this is one of the most fascinating comparisons we can draw. A single Russian cruise missile can cost anywhere between $1 to $6 million depending on the model, and Ukraine can trick that missile into destroying a decoy that might have cost only a few hundred to a few $1,000s. The cost ratio is so heavily in Ukraine's favor that it creates a kind of economic trap for Russia. Every time Russia tries to flex its expensive firepower, Ukraine's cheap counter forces it into financial exhaustion. In long-term conflicts, price matters as much as manpower, morale, and Ukraine's investment in deception is one of the smartest economic plays of modern military history. In conclusion, what we are witnessing is not just a battlefield trick, but a revolutionary demonstration of how intelligence, creativity, and psychological warfare can turn the tide against a more powerful enemy. Ukraine has proven that with smart use of decoys, camouflage, and electronic deception, it can protect its people, save its equipment, and weaken its opponent all at the same time. This insane trick of turning Russia's own eyes against itself shows the world that war is not only about who has the bigger army or the more advanced missiles, but about who can outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast the other. And while Russia has relied on brute force, Ukraine has leaned on innovation, adaptability, and sheer determination. This strategy not only changes the course of the current conflict, but could reshape the doctrine of future warfare, because in an age where every side is watching the battlefield through drones and satellites, the ability to control what your enemy sees is as powerful as the ability to control what your enemy fears. And Ukraine has mastered that power, showing us that in war as in life, sometimes the smartest move is not to be stronger but to be smarter. Turning the opponent's own eyes, tools, and weapons against them,